y'all. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am going to be speaking with none other than C.W. Allen, and we're just going to be talking about his upcoming project, I Am Lion. Okay? How you feeling tonight, C.W.?
I'm good. Thanks, Amber.
Yeah, of course. In my hosting bag. So, your team had a chance to listen to the project a couple weeks back.
Yep.
I was one of the people that was in the room. Very, very excited for you. Love the process. So we're going to get into just a few general details about the project itself and then get into more of what the themes were and what you were thinking about in the writing process.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah. So, I Am Lion. That name in itself. It's a very bold, very confident title, right? I just want to know what inspired this choice, and then how does it reflect your journey overall or the mindset in its creation?
Yeah, I guess you would have to go back to when I first began to idealize this idea of Lion as a character. And so it was, I mean, in a lot of ways it was kind of fluky. I had a friend, she went to Africa and she came back with a ring that she had sitting on the dresser for years, and it was a lion ring. She knew I loved lions, like my favorite animal. And she gave it to me as a part of my birthday gift. Did you just?
Yes. I seen the ring. When I saw the ring, I'm just like,
hilarious.
Yes.
So I get this ring, and it only fits on my pinky finger. Like, it's just it's too small for any other finger.
Yeah.
And so when I'm wearing it, I'm like, this is like some kingpin type stuff. And I don't know why, but I began to just think about, like, what would it look like to create a character from this ring? Like someone who's like in the game, you know, famous, that type of situation. So I began thinking through this story of a character named Lion. His ring is just symbolizes his name, and it's like kind of like this kiss the ring type of situation. So I was just all over the place, and so when I created this, I thought Lion was just such a bold name. Like, even as I think about like my faith as a Christian, like the Lion of Judah. Like, lion is just such a bold animal.
Yeah.
It's the king of the jungle, Lion King. So I was like, I just want this character's name to symbolize greatness and power, but I also want people to see how that can be destructive in a lot of ways. So with I Am Lion, you dive a little bit deeper into his life and who he is.
Yeah, I love listening back to some of these tracks and understanding the back and forth between, like, this is the good side, this is the maybe the bad stuff, and then there's some in between. So yeah, it's a very in-depth character for sure, and in-depth story. So let's talk about the track Lion Season.
Okay,
It somewhat suggests a period of personal growth for the character, which we just talked a little bit about. Can you delve into the experiences or the insights that shaped this narrative for those who are kind of familiar with who Lion is?
Yep. So coming off of the film, the I Am Lion film, it ends with you wondering, is Lion going to take the pill? Like, is he going to jump into the industry and become like this person that he's not because he's dealing with trauma and don't know how to deal with it? And so when you get to Lion Season, at this point, you see that he's progressed, he's become famous, he's walking that walk, and that piece of the film, the album, the it's getting late.
Yeah.
But
we even took the shot yet.
Right, that's right. In that part of the album, there's a small party where they're just toasting to Lion. So it takes you back from the first track, and it's kind of like rewinding, where you begin to see what happened leading up to what we get to at the top of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, if you haven't seen the first film, please go do that. I was there for the filming process and also the after party to celebrate all the actors, and it was a wonderful time.
That was fun.
Yeah, definitely before you get into this project, definitely get into like the pre-stuff.
That's a good point, because I feel like if you really want to walk with this story, you have to start from the beginning. Like the I Am Lion, I mean not I Am Lion, the Lion Legendary project, that first EP introduces you to Lion. And when I wrote Lion, I thought about like, what would it look like if he had like that Nipsey Hussle type of drive where you hear him and you just feel like, man, this dude could take the world over. But that Kanye exuberance, like I'm gonna jump on the table, you gotta believe me, right? So like the blend of the two is how I wrote the character, but you just get introduced to who he is and you fall in love with the idea of this like really innocent person who just finally gets a piece of fame. And so then when you get to the film, he's dealing with the trauma from the cliffhanger at the end of the EP. And I'm not giving it away because I want you to go watch it. But so now that we get to this project, it's like you had to really grow with the character. And I think that a lot of folks that have walked with me in my music over the years, they know me as an artist who writes very nonfiction music that centers around where I'm at in life, in that space. And I think you get some of that with this project, but it's truly authentically a story that I'm telling, a fictional story. And so for those who are new to the game, it's like, oh, cool. But for those who have been walking with me, they're like, yo, is Doug tripping? Like, who is he now? Like, he lying? I'm like, no, I'm not lying. It's a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get a little bit into Astronomy. I know that came out as a single.
Yes.
Was that last year or the year before? I can't exactly remember.
Last year,
yeah. Beautiful track.
Thank you.
Love it. It's so the title in itself is a cosmic reference, like right. How do you intertwine that theme of the universe with your personal storytelling in the music? Or are there any parallels with that? Or what was the inspiration behind the track?
Yeah. So I was going through therapy. 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 I was new to the therapeutic journey, and while I was going through it, I also was going through what I would showcase as some traumatic events. But I'm so used to pushing through trauma and not thinking about retreating, right? Like you experience, I worked with kids for a decade, and I got so used to losing kids to gun violence and the woes of the hood, watching people do wild things and experience wild things that you kind of get hard to it. It just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And it's not until you step away or begin to do extra work that you realize there's layers that need to be peeled back. And that's what Astronomy was. Astronomy was me realizing that I had some things that I had to deal with that I didn't really even realize were traumatic, that I had experienced throughout life, through my work in youth ministry and in different places, that Astronomy was very much this symbolic ideation of like this rocket ship that's ascending into the atmosphere. But when you watch it on NASA, like the NASA filming, there's parts of the spaceship that's breaking off as it ascends because it can't cut through the atmosphere with the certain pieces on. And I just felt like that was me. Like I was ascending to the Lord, and he was healing me and teaching me things, and I was just ascending and dropping layers. And so that's where the whole idea of Astronomy came from. But originally it wasn't going to be Astronomy. So I wrote to a beat. It was like just a random YouTube track, and the joint was called Bet on Myself. So it was like me telling myself, you got to bet on yourself and be okay with that. Right? Like fighting my imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But Astronomy got so much more deeper because when FC got the recording with the beat, he reproduced everything. And when I started listening to him, I'm like, that's not the hook anymore. And I just was, Astronomy. And I started singing it, and it just came to me, and I was like, yo, FC should sing this joint. But FC don't sing for people. It's FC. FC can sing.
I forgot you told me that. Yeah.
And so I'm like, yes, that's my brother. So I was like, F, I can sing this and auto-tune it, or my big brother can sing on it.
Which one do we want?
And he said, right. And he said, I got you.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, you know what I mean?
That's
It's just
love.
like, but when I wrote it, I heard his voice. And it was perfect. Because he got that, like, he can go that rocker type of voice.
Yeah.
And I still needed some of that, like, that R&B rasp he has too. So it just worked out really well.
I love that. We're not going to necessarily talk about this track today, but I think just the community that you have and the friends that you have really, really do stand out in some of these tracks. And it's a blessing to have the network that you have. I will say that. Yeah.
My wife has said that too. She said, you have special friendships that, I still have some of the same best friends from high school.
Which is rare.
And like people who walked with me growing up, like when I go back home and go to my church and spend time with people, we pick up where we left off. Like there's genuine love there in ways that I can't comprehend. Like God has really blessed me with good people, not just musically, but just in general. And so I am super grateful for that. So it's wild you mentioned that, and I'm hoping to continue to build, new ones like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of people on the track, so the next one I want to talk about is Thirst Trappin.
Thirst Trappin.
Because I didn't know I was gonna be, one of the people that you were gonna ask to be on this project in that way. And y'all will hear it at some point. But Thirst Trappin, let's talk a little about it. So there's some vivid imagery. There's some insinuations happening with the audio, right? Mm-hmm. What's the narrative or the message that the track is really conveying, just to lay it out blankly for them? And then how does this fit into the album's overall overreaching theme and your personal life? Like, let's get into the connection.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when I think about Thirst Trappin, because that one is, honestly, when you think about the storyline, you could cut it and the storyline would still go in a lot of ways. But I felt like we needed to see layers of Lion's humanity, of him still wanting love, of him still seeking comfort, and he finds it in this young lady that he thirst trapping with, whatever. But because when you listen to the rest of the interludes on the album, they all kind of coincide with telling the story of this traumatic event that happens to him at the end. But this one doesn't. I mean, there's bits and pieces of it in the background, but it's more so to give you a piece of his everyday life. Like the first EP does a lot of that. Like he talks about his daughter who was in the car when they tried to jack it, and they started to drive off and realized the baby was in the back seat. Or the scene where he, what else happened? Where he's at the party and then the shooting happens. Like it's still stuff where you like, oh, he's still an everyday person. You didn't get a lot of this because he's up here now. He's in his Jesus era. So I still wanted that human element for him.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of artists honestly should do more of that. Like, we need more talking on the track. We need more humanity on the track.
Yeah.
Just as a whole.
I think we just need more storytelling in general because the way that music is consumed now with our streaming services and just it being so fast paced, it's like when I started doing music, people were making 4-minute songs. Yeah. With 3 verses, 16 bars. Yeah. Now it's kind of like 2 minutes. You may get 2 verses that are 12s with a hook or a bridge, maybe, right? And a lot of it is not like people don't really take time to tell real stories, and that's the element that I love because by trade, like work, I am a storyteller. So I'm like, my music will always encompass conviction and storytelling. Yeah. Yep.
Love that. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the production and sound of the track. So just for the people who have been like fans for a really, really long time, I would definitely say that there were some surprises listening to this newer one. Some really good surprises. There's a lot of rich layers, and I really can't wait for people to hear this. But can you walk us through your approach in blending, just like the different genres and the different sounds in the tracks and the final product of what you created?
Yep. So when I approached the project, well, first of all, it's not a project that I've created in the way that I've created other projects. Right. And that's just because of the circumstances of life. Like one of the records on there, which I think is one of the strongest records I made 2-3 years ago, Yeah. Right? And
it's one of my favorites.
and Do Me, right? Was made in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's like there are songs on here that are older, but I felt like they didn't get the run they needed, or they weren't heard enough, so nobody would even know they were out at one point. But then there are some that I just held and waited for, like Guess. But I knew approaching this project, I wanted Lion to have this dark, twisted fantasy type of experience. So actually, the project was supposed to be a lot darker than what it ended up being. But that's just the nature of me not doing it all in one sitting. And me and FC actually talked about that. Gotcha. He said next time, let's really try to do the project within a 3 to 6 month period, so you can be in the same place. But like I had a second kid throughout this. Actually, I had both my kids at different points. If you listen to like Do Me versus Guess versus Astronomy, like you know, and then the last track, Imperfect, I had my whole family at that point. But if you go back to the first one that I made, I didn't have any kids. And so there's like this progression of life and all kind of different things that happen. So the sound naturally progressed and changed. I think I got better as a lyricist and a writer in between that time as well. I mean, if you have a really keen ear, you probably can hear it. Where there's this change and this growth. So, you know, I think that sonically, I originally wanted it to be very dark, twisted, fantasy-esque, but not to copy Kanye, but to have that vibe where it feels very, you know, almost like J. Cole's first album too. But it just, I think there's aspects of that. So Astronomy was going to be the catalyst for what the whole project sounded like. But yes, so I wanted it to have more of a rock, hip hop feel. A lot of guitars with Rhodes piano. Right? And the next one may very well encompass that, but we just didn't accomplish it in this way. But I think that's what God wanted. It came out the way it was supposed to come out sonically. So there is a lot of blending of genres, but I really also felt like I wanted to stay true to a few things sonically. One, with all my tracks, you'll always probably hear a piano, and more specifically the Rhodes piano. Even if it's distorted in some way, you usually hear it in there because that's probably my favorite instrument to hear on music. I feel like my voice blends well with it. I love putting guitars in music when I get the opportunity, and then soulful sounds, like soulful samples with 808s. So if I get those four things, typically you got a CW Island sound.
Did you hear those sounds frequently in your childhood, or like when did you realize like this is something that I really want to incorporate into my sound? I listened to a lot of R&B growing up. So if I in another life I'm a R&B singer somewhere with this shirt halfway button, I mean you can
playing
do it today,
piano like John Legend somewhere, you know, or ushering. I
was just about to ask you who were your influences, but I see the picture. I see the picture.
You know what? And I think sonically, I really always loved. Probably in my early 20s is when I really got hip to Kanye. But he's probably one of my favorite artists.
Still?
Yeah, musically. I haven't listened to the new album. I will say that. But I mean, I think Kanye got some of my favorite works. Like Graduation and Dark Twisted Fantasy are my two favorite albums. Then you get to like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Love that album. Lecrae's All Things Work Together was a great album to me. I loved a lot of his work over the years. But I was a kid who listened to everything. I was all over the place. And I know some people say that because it's trendy, but no, I literally musically am all over the place.
You can tell. It's not in a way of like it doesn't make sense or it's not a good thing. Like no, it shows your true love of music. And I feel like a lot of people who say that they really love music don't really love music because they don't have this broad knowledge.
That's right. But the challenge is, how do I do it in a way that is authentic to my sound and that doesn't it doesn't sound so all over the place that the listeners are like, this is a hodgepodge of music. Like I can't keep up. Some listeners love that. I'm a listener who I enjoy when you can do that, but you can do it in a way where it still sounds like one cohesive project. Right? Like I don't. Sometimes it's so all over the place. I'm like, who are you? Like, are you just mimicking a lot of different people? Right? And I think that's what some of my favorite artists have done well. They've sampled all kind of crazy stuff, but it still stays authentic to their sound.
Absolutely. Would you say you're one of your favorite artists?
Would I say I'm one of my favorite artists? Wow. Never thought about that. I mean, I do genuinely enjoy listening to my music. Brian McKnight, I listened to an interview of his. I probably was around 18 or 19. That's when I first started music. And he said somebody asked, do you like to listen to your music? And he said, oh, I love listening to it. Mm-hmm. And he said, that's interesting that you answered that way, because most artists say they don't like to hear themselves. Mm-hmm. And his answer was, well, I don't want to make music that I wouldn't enjoy.
Right.
And so I'm the same way. Like, I will listen to my music more than other people will now. Like, I've grown and learned how to use my voice where I enjoy it now. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I enjoy my art, my music, but I also enjoy a brevity of other people as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And then still on the tip of production and sound. So each track on I Am Lion has a very unique vibe.
Yes.
How do you decide the direction of each song? Like, which song goes before the other one or after the other one? Mm-hmm. And then do you have a favorite production moment throughout this entire process?
The sequencing is always interesting for me, and I would love to work with an executive producer one day who helps in sequencing and pushes me in my writing and structure. Right, I feel like I got a good ear for that stuff, but I always think there's people you could work with who could take it up a notch. Yeah. I just haven't been blessed with that in that way. Where it works well. So I think when I think about the sequencing of this project, actually before you all heard the first listen, I had changed the sequence.
Yeah.
Right before. It was structured a different way, but I felt like the beginning needed to have enough energy where it captured the listener, and at the same time, I didn't want to use it all on the front end or the back end, nod you to sleep. I didn't feel like there were any records like that on the project.
Not at all.
But also, I just felt like there had to be a good symmetry on the front end and the back end of the album. So that's how I thought about it. But then, after I figured out how I wanted to tell the story, I weaved the project to get the music around that. Mm. So you hear in the interludes, you hear the music of the song that just finished or the one that's about to come up, right? Like that's kind of how I thought about it. I wanted it to feel like one cohesive project versus like a bunch of like a playlist.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's an EP that feels like an album. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how I thought about it sonically. As far as favorite moments production wise, I think when I got Astronomy, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is different.
Yeah.
And then so FC produced it. And I began to hear what I wanted guitar-wise. Mm-hmm. And I remember humming some of it to you, like sending you the voice note. Yeah. Like all of that. And I was like, I can't play that. But Amber has the musical chops in theory to say, oh, it's this key, it's this, it's this type of riff that he's talking. Mm-hmm. And you communicated with the guitars.
Yeah, Jackson Shepard. Shout out to Jackson.
Oh, he killed it. and sent me the licks. And now he sent me samples of like him playing through. So I still had to go through and figure out which ones I wanted to place where. And a lot of stuff didn't make it. It got cut off. Mm-hmm. But like, where did the power chords go, all of that? I love that stuff. I love, like, if in a perfect world, I'm writing albums and doing them still, but I'm also like Quincy Jones for somebody. Mm. Like, helping to produce a whole project, like producing Thriller with you.
Yeah.
Like, I love that idea of doing that stuff. So, yeah, that was a fun music moment for me. And then also when Darius sang Imperfect, D. Lyles. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to D. Lyles.
Yeah, because he killed it. Because I write a lot of my own hooks.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not tied to that. Like, I love working with other people, but I also hear it. And when I hear it, I'm like, yo, this person will sound great on it. And he brought it to life, just like FC brought Astronomy to life. Mm-hmm. And it's just such a joy as a writer to experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of heavy hitters in Chicago that he gets to work with, or that they get to work with him type, you know.
Yeah. He's a super dope artist.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're gonna take a look back to just the project as a whole and the influences that it had on your own life. So, how was created this project, I Am Lion, influence your personal growth and your perspective of life right now?
Yeah. I think that it has impacted my personal life in that, from an artist perspective first, and that it has shown me like the pen is still sharp and it's getting sharper.
Mm.
You know, I think that sometimes as a hip hop artist, you believe the narrative that as you get older, you'll get weaker, that it won't be as good. And I feel like I'm just stepping into my prime. I felt that way the last few years, that this is like the best I've ever been. And so for me, writing this project, like the best songs on the album to me are the newer songs.
Mm.
And that is super encouraging enough for me to say, I'm going to continue taking swings at this. I think I'm just in a place where, like, I was talking to one of our teammates, Danny, and I was really worried about, like, this not having enough Christian appeal, because I've always functioned in Christian circles with my music up until really before the pandemic. It was like probably that 2019, 2020 time when I was about to have a baby. I had just bought a house, and I was just not in a transient place. Like in my 20s, it was very transient. It was more youth groups and things like that. And I still do some of those things. Mm-hmm. But I watch my audience as my music began to change more to bars and venues and different spaces that were more grown.
Yeah.
And when that happened, my music grew with me, and at that point I was stepping into my 30s. Mm-hmm. So now it's like the messaging looks different, and it actually was pretty freeing in a lot of ways. I love talking about what I believe and encouraging people, but I feel like there's a way to do that with my music that still stays true to my artistry. It's beautiful if you get something from it and you are blessed. But my job is to be, at least in this space, is to be an amazing artist that helps you to drop your jaw and say, this was great, and God is amazing because of it as well. That's how I think about it. I want to create jobs with my music. Yeah. So I'm thinking a little bit more holistic than just hitting people over the head with what I believe or what I think about things or my dogmas, which I hold to different things, but at the same time, I don't think they are something that should keep me from being in different circles and meeting different people. And I think that's just the way my music has evolved and grown over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting when you said that some hip-hop artists specifically like feel like over the years like their pen may not be the same, or like they get weaker or whatever. And that's interesting to me because like as you get older, you're supposed to get wiser, right?
That's
so
right.
You would think that like things are changing and drastically growing in like a positive way, or like you're opening yourself up to new experiences and you're writing about those experiences and they're better. So I agree with you. I think that like some of these newer tracks surprised me in the best way, because I've been rocking with you for maybe like 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked your music when I met you, but like some of these newer tracks, I'm just like, no, this.
You're trying not to get fired, ain't you?
No, I'm serious. No, I've been a fan since I met you, and I knew that this was like a collaboration that I wanted to continue having to go on. But like, listening to these newer tracks, I'm just like, I feel like more than a fan. Like I want this to go.
That's what I feel like. So, and that's why I'm glad you spoke to that, because it's not something that we really publicize or anything. But I really feel like this new music is really special, to the point where I sat down and I said, I want to give my team percentages of the project. So like where my team can have percentages of the project for the period that we work together, and even an option to have percentages, past that, because if I feel like it's such a special project, I want them to feel the passion to invest the time and energy into it that I did on the front end, and we all eat.
Yeah.
And I mean, I enjoy my other projects, and every project you feel special about it in different seasons, but this one, wow.
Different in the best way, honestly. So which track from the album do you feel the most connected to? I have my own personal thoughts with which ones I feel the most connected to, but I want to know which ones you feel like are your babies, and why do they resonate in the way that they do on the deepest level?
All of them do.
I knew he was going to say that.
It's the right artist answer. All of them do in different ways, but and I could tell you different reasons why. Astronomy is probably my favorite.
Okay.
Right now.
To date.
Because I think it just symbolizes so much pain and growth in a season. You know, like when I finished that song, I sent it to my therapist. I said, thank you. You helped me to get to this place.
Yeah.
Like that was an intimate moment because it was such a hard season that I was experiencing when I wrote it, that I needed that moment. And for me, I can go back, and it's like when we do it live, it's such a big war cry. When you hear the whole crowd, hey, it's just such a big record.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's such a small record when you think about the humility of it, like the stripped downness of it. So I really love that record a lot. Yeah.
Okay. I want to say, so out of all of the tracks that are on there, was there one that was somewhat challenging for you to create, or challenging to see where it could possibly be placed? Because we did talk about
energy.
Like, the secret energy. Okay, why energy?
Energy is a fire record to me. It's got the most bounce. Like it's that one, you know. And it's got the dope change up at the end where it's like gives you that we gonna ride down Lakeshore Drive vibe. Yeah. But there's lines in there, and I think we talked about it earlier. So right now we're going through the Diddy trial.
You got it.
Right. And so I actually referenced Diddy in the track.
Yeah. Can you talk about that line?
Yeah. So the line says, used to love it, see the hero making noise, but I won't jump on a train, that's the boys. Hero-gasm, and I know they getting litty. Say we safe, but I know they on some Diddy. And so the whole line is a play off of the TV show The Boys. So used to love it, hear the hero scream for the heroes making noise. Like I used to chant for these people and applaud them, and we all do. And there are heroes, but really they're like the boys. If you watch The Boys TV show, they're like these heroes that it's for propaganda. Like they were these children that were given superpowers, but they're like the worst of people behind closed doors. They're killing people. They having all kind of crazy acts that they're doing. And so I said, I won't jump on A Train, that's the boys, because A Train is one of the characters, and then the boys, and then Hero-gasm is this crazy season they had that you can't even watch most of it because it's like it's crazy. It's just it's a big it's what it sounds like. So but then I say they get litty, say we safe, but I know they on some Diddy.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that is because I remember people would say stuff like, yo, you got like, you going to be like a Jay-Z one day, right? Like, you want to be like a Jay-Z. And this is when Jay was the guy. Told you? Yes, when I was a young hip-hop artist. And my response was like, no, I want to be like Diddy. I want to start a label and rap when I want to rap. I want to create jobs. I want to do making a band. I want to make infrastructure. Like, I saw more than just rapping.
Yeah.
And he was a model of that, right? And for me, like he was his song that he did for Biggie when he died. Every step I take, the remix they made. I still know every word because it was the first rap song I learned word for word, the very first. So for me, I felt betrayed when all this stuff came out. That was my first response.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, how you beat her like that?
Yeah. How
you blowing people's cars up? How you treating all these people this way, allegedly? It just was like, yo, like you were our guy.
Yeah.
And so for me, I wrestled with, do I keep this in there? And when it came down to it, I said yeah, because that's how I felt.
It's part of your story.
Hear the hero making noise.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt. And so yeah, so that song in that way, like it talks very much about like how we seek, how people are chasing energy to become idols, and we chase the energy of praising idols in these people. So I feel like it's just a good vibe, but it gives me kind of like the idea of like when I hear it now, as I hear it back, like Kendrick Lamar doing swimming pools, pull up, drink. It's like this song that's anti being drunk in liquor, but it's got the sound and the vibe of that. And energy has a sound and vibe of getting that energy, people following you, chasing you, but it's talking about the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that pen.
Yeah. Trying.
No, you're doing it, man. You're doing it. So I want to talk about some of my favorites. And we're gonna geek out a little bit. We're gonna get some theory stuff also.
Okay.
So my new favorites, like, cause it's all my favorite. I'm an artist too. I understand.
As you should.
But I really love Guess.
Okay. That's
shocker.
That's what's dope. Like, cause both the ladies on the team love Guess.
Yeah.
And it's probably because, well, one, Johnny sang the mess out of it, but it's got that vibe, right? Like, it's the chords, the sound, it's just, I can see that.
Yeah, when I heard it initially, I was just like, I want to be on Lakeshore Drive. Like, I want to be just like hands out, just I never want to guess, like, cause that's the vibe. I want to say that, like, if we're getting into like the metaphysics of it. Which metaphysics, for people who don't know what that is, it's really just something that's questioning the nature, the value, and the experience of a thing, okay? Of a substance. For Guess, one of the main chords, I think it's like the dominant chord, is like an F sharp major. Okay? And the hook is, I never would have guessed that life could be so good, okay? That chord, specifically in the metaphysical world, speaks to faith, spiritual existence, and a sense of certainty. So, like, that being in the chorus,
that's crazy.
Chef's kiss. Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Wow. And I don't even know. Did you think about that when you were doing
No,
this?
because I'm not thinking about the chord progression.
Yeah.
Like, so that track I heard buried on F site. That's Fred, FC, and I was like, yo, this is something.
Yeah.
And it just sat there. And then I waited, and it wasn't bought, and I was like, yo, I need to buy that.
Yeah.
And I wrote it immediately. So that was written during the pandemic. I just didn't put it on the last project because I didn't feel like it fit.
It does now.
It does now.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then also Imperfect. There's a couple lines in there that I want to highlight.
Okay.
A dream deferred, a dream denied. I think that's in like the first.
A dream deferred and a dream denied.
Yeah. I really love that line. And then you showed love and reset my feelings. I think that's in the end. So like these themes, aligning with the progression from like the C sharp minor to like the G sharp minor. Super, super cool. I want to say, so the C sharp minor, that's representing intense emotion, and any type of sharp in any music is always like either a moving of emotion or a moving of an element. So intense emotion, a sense of deep connection.
Okay.
And it has like a feeling of like some spiritual despair, some like back and forth type feeling. So yeah, so that was that, and
that's
then
crazy.
You go into the Then you go into the G sharp minor.
And there's a tug of war in the second verse with like. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And then G sharp minor is still some turbulence, but there's like some empowerment in it too, because now you're really sure about what the turbulence is. And like a sense of deep emotional depth. Yeah. So I really love listening to the lyrics and then also understanding like part of that in the spiritual realm of the chords. I just thought that was really, really cool, and it tugs at my heartstrings. I wanted to understand more of why, and I really can't wait for people to hear this so that they can also understand why I'm geeking out about these two tracks specifically. Not even just on the nerdy tip, just like, no, it's cool to realize that like you write in your purpose all the time, and you don't even know sometimes
some of the details of like because like I'll hear music, and there's times I write something to a beat and I have a producer reproduce around my voice, and they'll choose certain chords to match my voice, but I didn't realize it, so it just like it just all kind of like lines up really well. So thankful to God for that. Like, that's dope. Yeah.
Get you a team that's aligned with you, for real. And that understands you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's exactly what you got. All right, so we talked a little bit about the past, somewhat of the present of how this track is, not the track, the project in itself has really just influenced what's been happening for you right now. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen in the future.
Okay.
So with I Am Lion, now released or...
You talking about the film?
Yes. What are your aspirations for the album's impact on your audience in the music industry?
I think I just want to encourage people to tell good stories again, artists.
Again.
Yeah, like I feel like it's shied away from, but I don't think everybody can do it well.
No, they
so
cannot.
I think that's why a lot of people don't do it. I also wanted this to be, I think one thing that artists don't strive to do nowadays is create their own sound, their own lane, their own niche. And the artists that really take off, that we fall in love with nowadays, are the ones who do that well.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to really put my stamp on where music right now for my, my age, my time. And for me, I know I'm an artist that raps typically like with conviction.
Yeah.
Like even my joints that you can, jump up and down, they just got you nodding, chilling. They'll still typically have some type of deeper meaning or undertone.
Yeah.
Of things that I feel conviction about or I'm thinking deeply about. So you'll get that, and the storytelling. I think about I watched a documentary about Marvin Gaye, and he said the best artists are those who find a way to make the mundane things of life touch the transcendent.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like that one song where the person is talking about I keep picking up forks and I just want a spoon, or it's the other way around. It's like everybody can identify with the day going like that.
Yeah.
Where nothing works.
Yeah.
Everybody can identify with what's going on. Right? We can, but the artist who finds ways to take the everyday things and create amazing stories and really bring you in and allow themselves to experience their own lives through the music is the winner.
Yeah.
And that's who I am. That's what I want to do. Now, do I want it also to have commercial success? Yes, I would love it. Because I want to put my babies through college.
We like money a little bit.
I want to pay my team. Right? I want to put gas in my whip. And at the same time, I'm just really enjoying what I'm doing. Like I don't want to just make music and throw it on streaming sites to make a buck. Like I'm not
even a buck, isn't it? Pennies upon
pennies. Not even a penny, right? For a stream. Yeah. I'm just not concerned about that. Like this next project, I've really been going back and forth with if it's gonna be on streaming services. I've been talking to y'all about that. Like, is it cheapening the value of it? Are they using AI are they training AI with my voice to kick us out? Like the ethical things, So not to say I won't ever stream or I'm dead on it, but I think this project has really caused me to think deeply about a lot of different things that I just went with the status quo.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something a little bit earlier. I want to ask, how do you want your fans and future fans? Yeah,
friends that are fans.
How do you want them to support you specifically?
Well, I do have people who support me monthly, who are partners. So that's a gift when people are able to do that. But I want people to tell another friend, tell a person. That is the word of mouth is still the strongest way to grow what you're doing. Yeah. And come out to a show. I know artists, hundreds of artists or two, right? I know hundreds of artists who have great streaming numbers. They're amazing with social media, so they got social media number, and it means nothing. Yeah. Because they can't get 15, 20 people in a room of their best city.
They'll go to those meet and greets or whatever, and there'll be nobody there, and they'll be like,
that's right.
What? What's up with that?
There are so many artists who had to cancel tours. Well-known artists. I don't want to be one of them. I told the crew earlier this year, success to me is like if we had 10 cities that we sold out every time we went to them once a year, I would be content, and we made a new project. That would be amazing to me. So we'll see how this thing shakes out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I know who I am as an artist. I know who I am as a person, and I'm forever learning and growing. But I'm content.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then one last question.
Sure.
Right. So looking ahead, how do you envision your music evolving? Because you've already kind of evolved a little bit, but I mean, as you get older and you go through more experiences, of course, there's going to be more. And are there any new directions or collaborations that you're excited about exploring? Like, we can manifest.
Yeah, right.
Come on now.
I got a lot of dreams, ideas that I want to do. One, I'm an entrepreneur by nature, like a creative entrepreneur. So one thing that I'm working on is a creative space. I don't want to give a lot of details about it yet because it's still something we're planning and thinking through. Mm-hmm. But that creatives can come to learn, to grow, to create, ideate together. And a big part of it is just listening to different documentaries and watching information about George Lucas growing up and building Star Wars, and just how he had his ranch and how they could just build worlds there. Yeah. And people had their own studios where someone would come and they were like, we only work with artists who want to build a project here. It's not a one-off studio. Yeah. I want to create those types of spaces. Community spaces, right? And also I want to be in a place where I am helping artists who are younger to really hone skills and things that I just didn't have older artists do with me. Mm-hmm. Some did. Some were great. Some producers were amazing. Mm-hmm. But I want to be there for artists and create those spaces. Not for just younger artists, but artists who are my age and older as well. So creating those spaces is one. I want to continue to make music. Honestly, depending on how the response is to this project specifically, would tell me if I'm making the final project with Lion. Because I got another idea of where it can go, but I don't want to waste the energy and time for something that people aren't excited about. Because I also got other projects in my head that I want to do. I want to write another book. So I already got the 2 different ideas on paper of what I want to do with those. And I've also been thinking deep about creating an album that's built for church congregations but uses hip hop. So I'm thinking deeper what that looks and sounds like. Okay. So a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts, but I'm open to partnering with anyone who is on the same page and wanting to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words for any fellow artists who are also going through an evolving process?
Yeah.
Or even what would you say to yourself maybe a few years back?
Ain't nothing changed but the day and the year.
Literally.
Another
good track.
When I wrote that song, I was in a place where I was wrestling with, can I still do this well? Yeah. Am I good enough? I was working at a record label, Build Your Own Dreams, amazing time. I learned a lot. And, I was doing the work. It was fun. And at the same time, in the back of my mind, as I'm serving these other artists, writing contracts and preparing festivals and events, I'm like, I could do this. But am I good enough? Will I be seen? Am I needed? Because there are other good artists who are amazing. And the thing that was pressed upon me through various avenues and the Lord himself was that, there are other people who can say good things and make great music, but you're you. And exactly. I made you for a reason. No rock is the same. And there's 7 billion people in the world. And there are some people you are assigned to as an artist. And so that's what I would encourage another person with is that, ride your unique lane and kill it. Yeah. It don't have to look no certain type of way. Everybody's cup of tea ain't the same. Enjoy yourself, live your life. If you want to work and make art, work and make art. If you want to make art full time and you ain't, having your family struggle, make art full time. Be creative and just enjoy it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, this is C.W. Allen. My name is Amber Denae. And we'll catch you next time.